right, Cindy from Stamped with Aloha. Okay, today I am wearing my blue wig in honor of this really fun card I'm going to share with you, which is part 3 of our Best Dress series. So let me tell you the story of my blue wig in case you don't know. You might have seen me wearing it before, but I actually purchased this wig the day before my son shaved my head bald. And that was because I was losing a lot of hair due to going through chemotherapy for stage 4 lymphoma. So thankfully in January of this year, 2020, I am now officially in remission. So I'm so thankful for that and thankful that I can still wear my sassy wig for occasions such as this, which is to share this card with you. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, so you know I love punch art. So today's card is gonna feature this punch art girl with the sassy hairdo and the red lips, which is why I put my lipstick on. And of course, this fun sentiment, which says, be bold as your lipstick, which is sort of what I'm doing right now. Okay, well, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, we're going to start with a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of lovely lipstick cardstock. It's been scored at 2 inches and 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to take and turn the cardstock and I'm going to fold it up at that 2-inch mark, and then I'll use a bone folder to just crease it and make it nice, clean, flat fold. And then I'm going to take the cardstock and fold it again. This time it'll be at that 5.5 inch mark, and I'll use my bone folder again. Now this is going to be a pocket for a gift card. So I'm going to use a 1.5 inch circle punch and just take a little tiny nip out of the edge of that cardstock. So our next step will be to use some tear and tape. So I'm going to tear off a couple of pieces and I'll run them on each side of the cardstock, and then I'll remove the backing. And then I'll fold this up, and now we will have our pocket. So I'll use the bone folder to just burnish it a little bit, and then as you can see, using that tear and tape, it makes a nice strong pocket. So now that's completed, so we're going to go ahead and fold this in half, and then we're ready to decorate the front of the card with some DSP. So I'm going to grab a piece of designer paper. This is a 3 by 3 1/4 inch piece of paper, and this one features all different shades of lipstick and lip glosses and such. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right on the front panel of the card. So this is going to be perfect with that sentiment. And I'll press that down. And now we're ready to do some stamping. So I'm going to grab a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is 2.5 inches by 4 inches, my black memento stamp pad, and then one of the images from the Dress to Impress stamp set. Now you'll notice I'm stamping this far to the right because our main image is going to go right there on the left side of the sentiment, so we need to make sure that we leave space for that. And so then I'm going to take this Whisper White cardstock and flip it over, add some adhesive to the back, and then I'm going to mount this to some silver foil that's been cut at 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 inches. Okay, now we're ready to adhere this to the front of the card. So let me place this down, and I'm going to line it up against the edge. And now I want to see where I want my dimensionals to go. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball the center here and flip it upside down. And now I'm only going to want dimensionals on the far left side of that cardstock there, because I only want to stick the dimensionals to that designer series paper portion of this card. So I'll flip this around, I'll line it up again, and then right when I have it where I want it, I'll go ahead and I'll press this down. And so now this area is all ready for our focal point. And so we're going to push this to the side and do some punching. So I have my silicone mat, and then the first punch I'm going to use is going to be the hot air balloon punch. I'm going to punch out one image with petal pink cardstock. Now with that same color cardstock, I'm going to use a new punch to make ears. This is the elephant builder punch. It has both a large ear and a small ear for the little elephant. Now this will make lots of scraps, so I'm going to try to punch it off camera so that I don't make a mess on the table. But this punch is great because it's going to give us both 2 ears and then a new nose with the smaller elephant ear. So let me just set those pieces there, and then before I assemble it, let's work on the hair. So with that, we're going to need basic black cardstock. We're going to use the 2 1/4 circle punch. If we had a larger circle, we could use a larger circle because this lady definitely likes big volume in her hair. Okay, and then we're going to use the tulip builder punch, and I'm going to punch out 3 of the tulip shapes, all with the basic black cardstock. Okay, so now let me get rid of this scrap. Now we're going to just work with these pieces here before we do the lips. So let's start by forming the hair and the face. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So starting with the hot air balloon, I'm going to put adhesive on each side of the balloon. Then I'll grab those two larger elephant ears, and I want to put those on each side of the hot air balloon and make sure they stick out as much as they possibly can. Then I'm going to flip this over. With the small little elephant ear, I'm going to just grab some more snail adhesive, and then I'm going to stick that right to the center of the face. So I'm going to put that aside for a minute, and we're going to work on the hair. So we'll start with a 2 1/4 circle punch, and then we'll put some adhesive on one of the tulip punches, and I'm going to just have this adhere this right to that 2 1/4 circle, and then I'm going to do 2 of these kind of side by side, and these are going to be the hair, so I want them just to stick out a little bit. And then before I glue this down, I'm just going to line this up to see how that looks, and it looks pretty good. And I want to push it down as far as I can so that there's a lot of volume of hair at the top of the head. So once it looks like it's in the right place, I'll just flip this over, and then I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back. So sometimes I glue these flat, but with this particular girl, I really wanted to add a lot of dimension to this look. And then I'm going to press this down. Again, I want to try to leave some volume at the top there, a little bit more than I normally would. Okay, that looks good. And now we're going to add this piece here. Now this is going to be the front of her hair with the long wispy bangs that are hanging in her face, so much so that you don't even see her eyes. So we just need one dimensional that I'm going to press on that bottom layer, and then that way the hair will kind of hang there. It'll even bounce a little bit, and then we want it to have that look like it's covering her eyes, so we don't even have to put any eyes on her, because the big feature of this card is going to be her lips, right? Because this card is about lipstick. So let me show you how I made the lips. Okay, to make the lips, I took the perennial flower punch and I punched out a piece of lovely lipstick cardstock. Now, I couldn't find the exact shape that I needed, so I found it worked best to take that punch and put it back in the perennial punch and punch it one more time. And then I got this cute little shape. So now you can see that just that one petal and the way that it gets rounded when you stick it back into the punch, it really does look like lips. So to make it look a little tiny bit more realistic, I grab my paper snips, and then I'm going to take them and just take a tiny little nip out of the top of the lips. So I'm going to just look at them and round them out just a tiny little bit. It's just a little tiny nip you got to take out of there. And then I'm going to clean it up just a little bit, and I think that looks good. Okay. So then to really finish off the lips, I'm going to grab a black journaling pen, and I'm just going to draw a line to separate the top and bottom lip, like so. Now when we mount this to the front of the card, we're going to add some mini dimensionals, because again, we really want to emphasize the boldness of these bright red lips. So remove the backing, and then we'll stick this right underneath the nose. And boom, there she goes. Isn't she cute? I don't know. I think she's cute. I hope you think she's cute. So now to finish this card, we're going to just adhere her to the front of the card. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure her before I put that on there. And it looks like that size fits on there perfectly. So I'm going to flip this over, and I want to add some liquid glue to the back of this, because I think that will just give a little bit of a stronger hold because of all the little separate pieces that we use to put this together. So I've got the liquid glue all over the image. I'm going to flip it around, and then I'm going to press that right onto the front of the card very carefully. Okay, so if you'll remember that in this series of projects that I'm sharing with you from the Best Dressed Suite, I promised that they would all have rhinestones. So for this particular card, I thought the perfect thing would be to add these rhinestones to her ears and give her pierced ears. So we can grab our take your pick tool, or even a piercing tool might be more appropriate, and we can go ahead and add a couple of earrings to her ears. So I'm just going to use 2 on this particular card, but I wanted to share with you a little bit about the designer series paper. So I love this lipstick paper, and as you can see on this particular piece, it's cut at 3 by 3 3/4 inches. Now the reason why I cut it like that was to conserve paper. In the original card I made it just a 1/4 inch bigger. But when I'm preparing for a class, sometimes it's better to cut the paper down because I would only get 1 of those images per sheet. So if you're doing personal stamping and you want more of the lipstick paper showing, then definitely add a bigger piece. But if you're doing it for a class or you're making multiple cards, then by cutting it at 3 by 3 3/4 inches, you'll be able to do 2 cards out of every piece of lipstick paper. So remember that this is a gift card holder, so when you open up the front flap of the card, you have the perfect place for a little gift card to be hidden. Well, it was so fun sharing this card with you today. I hope that you enjoyed learning how to make it. And remember, this is just part 3 of a 4-part series, so be sure to check back soon for part 4. Aloha!